You were talking yesterday about how different are the learners today. Could you explain us a little bit more?
Sure. If you go in and look at any of the information that's coming out about brain research and the teenager brain and what we're learning about how brains learn and the changes that I was talking about yesterday were primarily a shift from being auditory learners and visual processors of text to truly visual learners. And so now it's estimated that as high as 80% of our learners are visual learners. So if we're teaching without visuals, we're not going to retain memory as well. And so we need to be very cognizant of the fact that they want visual stimulation, even if we're older and we don't need visual stimulation.
Good. So how should the teachers today approach their students and curriculum also?
Well, I think that, when Donna and I wrote the book, we talked about a mindset for curriculum design, and we really stressed that first and foremost, we have to keep the purpose of what we're doing in mind. So anything we do needs to be purposeful. And so it should be structured around language as it's used in the real world. And so we want to hold up examples of things like the one I just used in the session. What are the days of the week is not a communicatively purposeful question. We want to be thinking about, do you want to go to the movies on Friday or Saturday? So that one. Then it gets a little more complicated because you have to think about the age of the learner. Is this appropriate for that age? Is it interesting for that age? Is it relevant for that age? So if you're teaching in elementary, we used to try to break up the topics of a level 1 class across a K-8 sequence, and they might be talking about travel as if they're going to get a hotel room, and this would be so age inappropriate. So we have to think all of that. Then if we're teaching the older learners and they're just starting Spanish 1, French 1 in high school, we can't insult their intelligence. So we have to think of cognitively engaging aspects of a topic. So I want them to learn colors, but I might be coupling that with an infographic on if you like blue, then what does that say about your personality? So I've got to get it to a cognitive level rather than can you name the colors?
You mentioned yesterday that it's important to lead with culture. So how the teachers today can bring culture into their classroom?
So that's my colleague's common sentence, and I always use it. If you lead with culture, language will follow. And so what we used to do was we led with language. We taught them the vocabulary, we taught them the grammar, and then maybe the culture would come up somewhere towards the end. And instead, what we really need to do is take advantage of how easy it is to access authentic images and authentic text and find pictures that will capture their imagination in a different setting. And then you're leading with culture, and because the image itself is interesting, they have questions about it and they want to talk about it. So you've led with culture into the topic. So someone asked me over the course of these 3 days, well, wouldn't you, if you're doing a school unit, make sure they could talk about their own school first? What time it starts, what time it ends? And I said, no, you would always want to look at another school in the target culture, learn that system, lead with culture, and then make those comparisons, and then be able to say, which do you prefer and why? So you've led with culture.
Good. Thank you so much.
Sure, my pleasure.